Did you really, like, you drove from your job and you would put your tuxedo on in the car while you were driving?
I had a Dodge Colt. It was a very, very small little car. And I was really late to my gig because I had to teach right up to the minute. And the gig was in the worst possible place, which is Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills has no freeway access. You have to drive a long way to get there down regular streets. And it's rush hour. And so I got in my shorts and my shirt that I was teaching in, and I got out like Superman, and my complete tuxedo with my bow tie on and everything. And I actually changed at stoplights.
Oh, at stoplights. Okay.
Into my tuxedo.
Well, that's a little better.
Yeah.
Not much.
Hi, I'm Norm. I was born and raised in Japan, and I'm half Japanese. When I was a kid, I took a couple strings off an old guitar, and that was the beginning of my career as a bass player. Two of my favorite things are music and sushi. Welcome to my home. I'm Norm Stockton, and this is Grooves and Sushi. Today's episode comes from the very first Grooves and Sushi shoot and features a stellar cast of friends who also happen to be absolute world-class players, including the awesome Mr. Brandon Phillips on trumpet, bass clarinetist and overall woodwind freak Mr. Keith Felch, drummer extraordinaire Mr. Philip Greenwood, the uber-talented keyboardist Mr. Rob Rinderer, and the master of texture and vibe Mr. Justin Hepner. Sure, we gather for music, but who am I kidding? Chef Kevin's sublime sushi definitely helps me in gathering this talented bunch. In this episode, we'll be playing a piece called Only When I Exist. As always, while a few of us have worked together in the past, this lineup of musicians has never played together, and this song has never been performed before this taping.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers. Cheers. Good session.
Oh, this salad is awesome.
So this condiment is not that commonly found in this sort of context. My experience with cuisine is usually with
Curry?
curry, exactly. But it's a nice little compliment to this, man.
Yeah, it's really good, but mostly it's put on there because of the color contrast. It makes it really aesthetically pleasing, and they're both pickled.
With sushi, in Japan, there's definitely a contingent of chefs who look down on what's happening with sushi in America and saying that it's not real sushi, you know. And the sushi chefs in America are like, the art form, the market here wouldn't generally support it anyway in this purest form. We've adapted it for the American palate, and sushi's a hugely popular dish out here. So but then I've thought about how that relates to music too, because that sentiment, I feel like you can make an argument on both sides, but that sentiment has huge parallels, especially to like jazz.
You know, there is something to how things were originally done. I think especially more so with something like sushi, but with jazz, it's an improvisational art form to begin with. To me, that doesn't mean just in the moment. That means like your whole approach, you know. Like, to me, I want to hear jazz change and evolve and continue to, you know, take bits from EDM or whatever, but not become EDM, but be influenced by it. But it's the player, right? I mean, it's like the equipment helps.
I don't know. I believe
can.
it's the Michael Tobias design basses and the Gallion Kruger amplification. However, your point.
Well, okay. Here's an example of that.
Okay.
Okay. So Greg Bissonette, who's going to be on one of your sessions, right?
Yeah.
So I go over to Matt Bissonette's house. His wife Sharia is having a birthday party. We go to the birthday party and go, Rob, come jam with us. And I'm looking, and they've got the drum kit they have out there is the student model kit that Matt's son Josh played when he was like 8, right? And it looks like a total just like,
it's like
what is
toy
this?
kit.
And you're going, oh, this can't be good. And he sits down and plays it, and it sounds like Greg Bissonette.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. And it's like, okay, it's the player.
It is the player.
I mean, it's always going to be the player because, like, everybody at this table, you know, you guys are all great musicians. You know, you really are. And I think if we took...
You're awesome, dude.
Oh, man. I appreciate you. But it's like, you know, Norm is an MTD guy, but, you know, if we gave Norm a Music Man, he wouldn't still be Norm. You know what I mean? He still would do what he knows to do because of all the time he's put in, you know? So it's like, I say this, gear helps because, you know, if you have good gear, you know, your tuning's easier, like, you know, it's lasts longer. But, you know, when you show up to somebody's jam session, you know, you can't, let me go get my keyboard because I can only play good on my keyboard. You know what I mean? That says a lot about, you know, you. If you can't sit down and at least jam out with everybody else.
See, I'm wondering, like, I don't know if it's the same for, I only know bass, but for me, the equipment allows me to get the extra 10% at the top. There's things I can play on my basses that I actually have a tough time playing on other instruments.
Yeah.
But for me, I had this epiphany about this years ago watching the Jaco Pastorius video. Jerry Jamott's interviewing him. And he says at a certain point, Jerry Jamot goes, yeah, you're. I know it looks awesome, huh? The fretless Fender Jazz, oh, I mean, that's such an amazing part of your voice and stuff. And Jocko said, yeah, but I mean, I can play any bass. Any bass, it'll sound like me. And I remember at the time thinking, well, I mean, that's a little arrogant. It's like, and with all due respect, that's a little arrogant because that fretless Fender is definitely a big part of Jocko's sound. The further along I go, the more I realize that it's absolutely true, because case in point is you can go see like Marcus in concert at the Catalina or something. Marcus gets done with his set and the gear's still there. A buddy of his that walks up on stage gets to plug, Marcus like, hey, go give it a shot.
Right.
The guy plays a couple notes and it's immediately not Marcus.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, that sounds nothing like Marcus. No settings changed.
Right.
It's in your hands, largely. But I guess the thing is that I'm not going to get a Marcus tone out of a Hofner, right? Hofner's going to do what a Hofner does.
Right.
So, I gotta get better at that. Seriously.
I've been meaning to up my lemon cutting game.
They're so thin.
There's not enough time to woodshed everything you need to woodshed.
Develop an emotional connection with your instruments, though, right? There is a little bit of that connected piece for me, anyways, where I can pick up a guitar and play it, for sure. But when it's mine, there's some journey there. There's some story there. About 15, 20 years ago, almost now, all of my equipment got stolen, and it was my first Fender Telecaster. It was a vintage AC30 and all my pedals, and it was tough. Yeah, so everything that I had, all of it gone, and insurance paid for almost as much. And I thought, great, I'll go get the 1952 reissue Butterscotch Telly. I always thought would be awesome. I'll go get, and I went and got all that stuff, and I got home, and it probably wasn't until like probably 3 years later, and 2 amps and 4 other guitars, that I found something that I felt like I could resonate with. So there's that other side to it. It's not just an instrument. So.
There's a less tangible.
So this one's yours. I put extra albacore and extra taco for you.
I wouldn't even know.
So the ones with the chili garlic and the green onion, you don't put wasabi on them.
Okay, that's the ponzu stuff?
You just won't taste it.
Okay.
So can you tell us, what am I eating?
Alright, so from the
This
left
looks
top
like
down,
some-
it goes toro, Tasmanian salmon, yellowtail, Japanese yellowtail belly, then New Zealand
With Tobiko or something, or was that?
Yeah, yuzu topiko.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yuzu Tobiko.
Yeah, because the belly's a little oily, so the citrus helps balance the oil. Then on the middle top is New Zealand red snapper, seared over wood. To the right of that is albacore. I don't know where it's from. It's probably from Southeast Asia. And taco.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Oh yeah.
I'll talk to you guys in about 10 minutes. To me, the sushi thing, it's it's like there's probably a better word than historic or folkloric almost, but there's like sushi it's a tradition, right? I guess I don't know. You could say the same thing about jazz though, but sushi's a tradition where it's like I think you have your official. We're paying homage to quote unquote the original version, and then it's like, hey, but we're not trying to do that right now. We're trying to do something different. Like Miles, when he did Time After Time, he wasn't trying to do what he did in the cool jazz stuff, right?
And now Cyndi Lauper's doing psoriasis commercials, so.
Right. You can always count on Keith to go.
Right.
No, that's awesome. That's perfect, man.
So in the Bat Mitzvah, they have the section where they will dedicate this song to so-and-so or whatever. And so this next song, my aunt just passed away this last year, you know, and so this song is for her. And you know, very solemn occasion.
Yeah. And we all love her.
And the guitar player who was leading, he looked at the wrong place on the list. And started, celebrate good times, come on!
Oh man!
And the thing is, it didn't just go by the crowd like unnoticed.
No, and it's like, you know, and then like,
man,
you know,
there's just no recovery.
It's like, no,
yeah,
stop.
The damage is done.
Yeah.
And he's just going for it.
He was going to finish the song.
Oh yeah, he had no idea what was going on.
Did he not? He didn't hear the setup at all.
Okay,
wow.
Guitar player,
Well, of course.
Yeah, just doing their own
He's
thing
like
as
tunnel
usual.
vision.
little hard of hearing.
He already had his patch dialed and he's ready to go.
This song has my solo.
We
in it.
can't
Let's
not
just get
play
to it.
Band for quite a while, and the keyboard player was a very fine keyboard player and was also a professor of music, and so he was well known in the area. And so we got to this giant Italian hall where they were in Los Angeles, where they were having the reception next to the church, and very big, lots of lights and flowers and everything like a high-end wedding should have, right? And so there was going to be a very special song. They introduced a young lady, and for her special people, the bride and groom, the niece is going to come up and share a special song. And they wheeled her up in her wheelchair, and it was obvious that she had some physical infirmities, but she was going to share with the bride and groom a gift from her heart.
Yeah.
So she proceeds to, you know, there is love when we, you know, she's singing, and and it totally is not going with the tune at all. So the keyboard player sets up the thing, na 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 na, you know, when we love one. And eventually it just goes on, and then I started playing the melody because I thought, you know what, the music's right in front of me. I'll just play a high flute part
just
to lead
guide
her along. Guide her along. Keyboard player says, shh, you're messing it all up. Okay, so and she says, eventually she says, something's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong. And they wheel her off, and she is in tears that her special song didn't go very well. Keyboard player says, well, some people got it, some people don't. We get to the gig the next day with the same band, and a telephone call comes through from the band leader to the keyboard player. and he says, "Do you have that music from yesterday still in your briefcase? Because the music that was for the special song is for this wedding." And
man,
we got the accompaniment wrong for the young lady who was going to sing a special song for her.
And what was the guy's response?
He said, "Oh, well," and he just kept setting up. But he'd like basically ruined someone's life at that point. And
That's
very
so
jaded.
heartbreaking.
You know, in doing these private events that are contracted, they're some of the strangest events
That's
in the world.
brutal.
We drove, it was probably close to 1,000 miles all the way to Tacoma, Washington. When we got there to the gig that we were excited about, it was like this little stadium venue that was kind of cool, maybe like 10,000 seats.
Big sound system.
It's
gonna
cool, it's
rock,
exciting.
yeah.
We were like 18, so we had to talk our parents into it. You're gonna get smashed by a logging truck, you know, all the things you have to talk mom into. And we get up there and we get out of the car and we go in, and it was some event where they had like some NFL linebacker speaking, you know, all this big draw. We go, we sound check, it's awesome. We get done and we wait and we wait and we wait, and the staff all went home and we got stiffed. We probably spent like $2,000 on the trip, just, you know, gas, food, hotel. And we drove all the way home empty-handed and broke. And we didn't even make up nearly enough in merch to like do anything. So all of a sudden it cost all of our parents a ton of cash.
Yeah, right, because you were really
you know,
young.
we're like 18, 17 or whatever. And so we're like, yeah, whatever, you know, it's cool. But I look back on it and I'm like, not cool.
That's pretty uncool.
The things that I wrestled with growing up, it was a haven for me, you know. All of the dark and difficult things, and found light in that environment with music and God, Father. So it's pretty rad for me. It's been incredible.
Music, yeah, it's like a language. Obviously, there's a tune that we're doing on this project. We're not tracking it today, but a different session. But to open up just a bit. My family has been on a fairly difficult journey over the last few years, and there was a time, I don't know if you really even know the whole story, but there was a time that you were like, "Hey dude, how you doing?" And I said something along the lines of, "It feels like I'm crawling through a field of broken glass." And you said, "Hey, have you ever thought of trying to put that to music?" And I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of just hurting too much, you know. But one night in the midst of it, it was like, you know what? I just grabbed a guitar. It was actually literally a guitar that was just sitting there because it was like I was on the couch. And I wasn't thinking about any theory. I was just kind of sounding stuff out because I don't play guitar very well, you know, that stupid B string. And that's not tuned in straight fourths. But anyway, I ended up writing the song, and it's like it's going to be featured in one of the sessions. I'm playing it all quarterly on a 7, and then there's bass clarinet and cello and muted trumpet. And it's interesting because there have been times that since then that we may be going through something really gnarly, and I'll actually play that, and I feel like it's expressing things that I can't even come up with words to express.
Sure.
You know? And I'm super grateful just to have music as a language that is like, it's almost like what, you know, the Bible talks about with the Spirit giving utterance, right? It's like when you don't have, and it was like, it's totally that too, you know? It's like, yeah, I don't even have words, but this is like, yeah, that's what I'm feeling right now, kind of thing, you know?
We were doing a Jerry Lee Lewis type of thing, so I had boots on, and I kicked. You know how Jerry Lee would use his foot to play, so I kicked like the top notes with the boots, and I didn't realize it had cut the.
It broke the key.
It broke the key, and then I went like this, and it just sliced my finger open, and it was just like blood all over.